Hey everybody, this is Dr. John, and I'm here today. I am super excited for our guest here today. It's Dr. Arun Singh. He is the famous cardiothoracic surgeon in Rhode Island. So if you've ever had anybody at Rhode Island Hospital, you would know that name. And today he's here with us with his new book. It's called Your Heart, My Hands, and it's a journey of his experience in medicine. And also today I'm really excited because he's going to share with us some of the experiences that he's had throughout medicine. Somebody that's, you just have a wonderful story, and I don't want to give any spoilers because I want to hear it from you. He's somebody that was born outside of this country, came here as an immigrant, and built up a tremendous practice. And also, a lot of people don't know this because I just know you as the smartest person in the room. When I remember when I was training and you were there.
That's very kind.
No, it's true. That's your reputation.
Thank you.
And what I didn't know was all the challenges that you had to overcome in order for you to be who you are today. So, Dr. Singh, thank you so much for coming.
Call me Aaron. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Well, as John said, I was born in India. I'm an immigrant. As a child, I had a terrible injury to my right elbow, and that shattered my completely right arm. I ended up with a paralyzed right hand, and I was not able to pick a piece of paper or I held a pencil for 5 years. And I was devastated. My mom tutored me, home tutor, for 5 years. She had only 10th grade education.
Wow.
That's all I had. Education was given by my mom. At the end of we were living in the area which was not very well developed in the village. And I tell you, as a child, I had every disease.
This was in India.
In India. Hepatitis, diarrhea, malaria, typhoid, asthma, name it. Chickenpox, smallpox, every disease.
Wow.
Later part, when my hand was still not well, was frozen elbow. I could not move my elbow at all, and the hand was left like this. And I already had a full procedure. And at that point in time, I fully remember I was sitting in consultation with the doctor's office, the surgeon, and he looked at it. My dad was sitting there too with my mom, and he said, "We can leave this hand like this, at least he can feed himself. This is all we can do because his liver is failing. He has a serious case of hepatitis. He cannot have another anesthesia, so he cannot have procedure." At that point in time, my dad got flipped up. Because I was the eldest son, and I could not, he realized if his hand is not going to be good, how he's going to make a living. You need your hand. So he flipped up and he said, our eldest son is going to make a living. He's going to be beggar on the street. And I realized, as seen growing up in India, what's the beggar like? Kids on the streets in Calcutta and other, holding a pan, deformed, begging for a piece of food or a coin. I was devastated. I started crying. I could not be consoled. They could not console me. At that point in time, my mom, what most moms do, she got up, she held me tight, and she said, "Get up, look up, and don't give up, and I'm going to work with you."
So your dad said, "This is it.
This
guy's gonna be a beggar,"
yeah.
And then mom said,
"No,
you're gonna be somebody.
you're going to be somebody. We're going to work with you." So my mom made a decision to the doctor. The doctor said, "We can't give anesthesia. Okay, he's not going to liver failing. He's going to die from that." So she said, "What are the choices? You can leave the way it is, or break his hand without anesthesia and reset it." And mom made the decision that let's do it. So the next day I go into the hospital back again. I remember very well, I had a nightmare for many years. 4 strong guys held me, 2 under my feet, 2 under my arms, and one was sitting on the chest, and the surgeon gave the signal. He grabbed my hand like this and twisted it. I heard the snap. Let me tell you, I had so much pain at the time. I screamed. Must be the voice, must have heard it. Crossed the barrel of the hospital all the way to Taj Mahal, 500 miles away.
Wow.
And
no anesthesia.
No anesthesia. And I was petrified, and they reset the hand. And after a few months, I had some movements, but the hand was still restricted, needed the rehabilitation. There was no rehab in India, in a small town. There was no ultrasound. There was no refrigeration. There was no air conditioning. There was no massage, no therapy, no gym. So what do we do? So my orthopedic surgeon with mom worked together, and they decided to come an idea that they're going to do some weightlift carrying out. So my mom took a brick, put it in a bag, tie the ropes, tie it in my hand, and she will patrol me to walk the street, the block every day. Gradually, my hand got started stretching out. I went up from 1 brick to a 4 brick carrying it twice a day. So my elbow started having a movement, but I still didn't have a very good grip on my hand. So she would take me up to the window, and back home in India they have the crossbar to prevent intrusion coming in the house. So I'll hold up the bar, and she let me go off the ground, so I'll be off the ground 2 feet. I'll be hanging there for 10 minutes, or I'll be crying, and passerby people will look at that and laugh. He said, "Oh, this kid must have done bad thing today. He's being penalized." But that wasn't it. Then she also brought me a carom board. Carom is like a pool table, small board. Have you seen a carom?
No.
Carom is like a pool table, small board, which is about 18 inches with the 4 holes there, and the carom man, and there's a striker. Striker is like it's a puck, and you flip it with the finger left and right, and try to knock the carom man, 9 carom man, to the holes. Whoever knocks it first is the winner. And I was practicing for almost 2-3 hours a day, and I can be very good, and that helped my movements on my fingers. So, and then I took a test. I wasn't getting it, but I had plenty of time memorizing it, and so I was ready to go to high school. I got into the high school, but the school already started, so I couldn't get in there. So I had to wait another year. So while we were waiting for 8 more months, I had nothing to do besides the rehab. I was jealous, angry, frustrated, seeing the other kids going to school, and I am not going. I have a very curious mind. I have curiosity. And so I started doing some bad things. I will just jump the trains, hop around the trains, hop around the bad streets, in gullies and things like that. And then one day I said, let's get into kite flying. If you read the book Kite Runner,
Yeah.
the kite flying is a very competitive sport. So I got into kite flying, and I loved it. And I would go out for 4 to 6 hours. I had a guru who helped me, and I became very competitive and very good in the kite fly. A single kite aloft is a challenge to a neighbor in Asia. Bring it on. It's a competitive sport. So it's a really challenge that I'm the winner in the neighborhood. This is the king. So one day I was in a competition at the end of the season.
And were you always competitive?
Yeah, I was very competitive. So I was in a competition, and I was doing very well, and I was standing on a hill a little bit on a laying pole, and there was a ditch behind there. So, and suddenly a black kite came in. I always had a red and black. A black kite came in underneath me, and I saw that my coach, guru, said, watch it, make a movement. So I was afraid that he's going to cut me and I would lose the tournament. So I didn't realize I lost the sight where I was standing behind a ditch on a pole to have elevated. And I frantically started moving my kite fast, rolling up. Next thing, he cuts my kite, and I fell down. I'm trying to pull back myself, and I'm in a ditch. Here I'm in a ditch and 4 feet down, broke my left hand. Completely shattered the left hand. So I had to go through again. At this time, when I was in the ditch, kids come around and they reported to my parents. My dad did not come. He said, leave him there. I'm not coming. With his behavior, he mismarried the family, he's disgrace to the Singh family, and he's not going to get better. So just leave him alone. My mom came and she picked me up. She took me in the hospital, and I had to go through again 2 or 3 procedures in the left hand. So I missed 5 years of school. And eventually, got into medical school later. I was never a good student. I was average. I
So you were
struggled.
also struggling with
I was dyslexic.
and-
Dyslexia was a problem. But those days, John, people didn't understand what dyslexia was. People thought he's stupid or he's slow. But I had one advantage. I had insomnia. I always did not require more than 3-4 hours sleep. As a kid, even now, and I can function. And so I have plenty of time, spare times. Most people 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock want to go to bed. I can read it till 4 times. So I read thing over and over, 4 times until he got to me. I will make an acronym for stuff. We make it together so I can memorize that way, and so they can flip it. And so I got into, I was average student, below average, I would say.
But you were doing mnemonics, which is how medical school students learn today, because there's so much information. You have to use those mind games and whatnot to better organize your thoughts. But you were doing it because
I was doing it because dyslexia.
Got it.
I was doing it and that's the only way I could do it. Even I do now. The word obstacle. It's a very simple word. People with dyslexia, there's nothing wrong. There's a congenital anomaly, as you know, is a glitch in the language. They can't decode the text, but we can do things better by seeing it and doing it. And as you know, most of the dyslexics, there are a lot of dyslexics out here. They're very bright people. They have become inventors. They're scientists. They're artists. They're entrepreneur, business. Nelson Rockefellers and all of this, some presidents, they're all dyslexic. So for that, dyslexia is not a bar to success, but you have to discipline yourself to get out of it, And so for me, that was the discipline. I had plenty of time and over repeat. So when I got into medical school first time, I thought I was stupid. I wasn't getting it because there was too many things there. I wasn't comprehending it. I wasn't learning anything. I said, let's play cricket or something, let's do things. Medical school in India, 5 years, John. So
Did you go straight from high school to medical school? Or?
I went 3 year college after that. And then when I did average, I did not do it, So if you combine a 3 year college and 5 year medical school, it's 8 years, same like here. But what happened was, at the 5 year, when I got to medical school, I wasn't doing that great. My family said, first of all, there was astonishment to everybody, to neighbors and family, that he's in the medical school. What a strange guy, the broken hand, and, how come he got in there? If you think that maybe parents have donated money or something, but that wasn't anything, we were poor. So what happened, when I got into medical school and I wasn't doing well, what I do? I was trying to cut corners, play sports, etc. And then one day, end of the summer, I was going to my home, visiting my home, and I ran into my train station, my uncle. He put my hand on the shoulder, he says, I'm so glad to see you. Your dad is very sick and he may not survive, and I'm going to go see him.
And at this time, did you...
I had no idea. Remember, there's no telegrams there, there's no phone there, no nothing. So I got devastated, and I went straight to from train station to the hospital. Remember, this is in India. It's a city hospital, which is a room, hall, big hall, people laying on the floor, dogs are running around, flies up there, fans are barely moving, and I see my dad, who had a massive stroke, unconscious, tube, not responding. Mom is fanning him to stay the flies away. Putrid smell. I was devastated. I was crying, but I hang around realizing that he's not going to die. But a few days later, he got better and started a little bit of activity, but wasn't out of the woods. And this is back in India. There's no Medicare. There's no Medicaid. You lose a job if you can't function. You have no earning. And so we had no earning, no nothing.
How did you pay the medical bills?
The medical was state college, so it was very little, it was cheap. It was nothing. It was free, pretty much. It's not like here. Otherwise, I would not. If I was growing here, then people would say that he's full of it. He's an own world. Otherwise, they would have labeled me juvenile delinquent. But that's the way I was. So what I did, my mom looked at the point in time. We had two brothers and sisters, and they were younger. My mom said, looked in my eyes, and I saw the pain and tear in her eyes. She said, grow up. We need you. We want you to go back and finish the school. And you are now guardian of the family.
So you're the oldest son in
I
the
was
family.
the oldest.
How many siblings did you
I
have?
had two brothers and sisters. So she said, and I saw the pain. And that I was 17-year-old. That day I became a guardian of the family. So that all the responsibility was handed to me. So I said to myself, better straighten ourselves. So I went there back home. Here I was the bottom of the medical school class. And I started studying hard, and eventually I graduated second in my class, 110 students. I did not graduate first in the class. I could have, but there was some problem.
You didn't pay the guy off?
No, I did something funny again. I was always in trouble. I was always in trouble. If I'm not trouble will find me. So I graduated at the age 22, and I did a year of internship. There's requirement there. And then I came here. Why did I come here? People ask me, why did you come? The two reasons. We had nothing. We lived, you see in my book the picture where I came from. Heart surgeon in the 60s didn't come from that ghetto, drain running around, walk on a street where the animals are fighting for the garbage to eat. We drank polluted water. We walked on the polluted water. There was no nothing. In the 60s, the heart surgeon came in this country. They were 6 feet tall, white Caucasian, perfect teeth. They came from Westchester or the Fairfield County or Marin County. They went to Andover Academy. They have a trust fund. If something happened, they fell back. Those are the surgeons.
So you didn't fit the mold?
I did not fit the mold.
I mean, cardiothoracic surgery is such a hard specialty to get into in the first place.
Well, at those times was just beginning of the heart surgery. Cardiac surgery was not begin. And when I left the country, I wasn't planning to be a heart surgeon. I was planning to be a surgeon, maybe an orthopedic surgeon. That was my goal, because that's what helped me, and I've seen it. There was no heart surgery. It was done very few places in the world, few in America, few places in England, and that's it. There was nothing heard about the heart surgery. So that wasn't the idea. So I came for two reasons. One, to get training, and the second, to have money, because to support, send my money to my family to support. So I came with a $5 when I came here, and in New York City. And from when I arrived in Worcester, I had to pay $3 to a cab and $1.75 for my telegram sending to home in India arrived safely. So when I woke up next morning in America, I had only a quarter in my pocket.
You sound like my dad. He has the same story where he comes
Isn't
here
that
with
nice?
two suitcases and $5.
You know, and I had a suitcase, believe it or not. You know what happened to my suitcase? The handle broke. You know, usually the handles were never made very well over there in India in those days. So what I had to do, I had to use my belt to tie it and carry it. And I must say, I look back myself now, people must have thinking about what this guy is doing, this guy here pulling it out. So when I arrived in Worcester City Airport, and I had, $5, and that's the best money I ever had, and most valuable money I ever had, Mr. Lincoln I called. I had him in my pocket, and I put my hand in the pocket every 5 minutes to make sure he doesn't miss out. He doesn't escape from my pocket. So when I arrived there, I waited there to see how do I get there to the hospital. I had not known a single person in this country.
Did you speak English well?
I spoke some, better, less better than now. I better speak now. And the pronunciation I heard about Worcester was Worcester. That's the way it looks like. So when I was in New York, looking for Worcester, the people were looking for it. Finally, I showed them this is Worcester. You go there. So when I arrived in Worcester, so I asked I was the last person at the airport when everybody walked because I was scared, to ask the information desk, the lady who was looking, older lady with the glasses, looked at me. I said, how do you go to the hospital? She said, how far, first I asked her, how far to walk? She looked at me up and down and says, sir, nobody walks. Either you take a ride or somebody pick you up. So I said, I don't have anybody to ride or pick. Is any bus there? No, there is no bus service. I said, well, I have no choice. I'm going to walk. So she hands me a map. I've never seen a map. Any American names, Indian names, so we couldn't do nothing. But anyway, I found a cab guy who took me down there. The hospital started.
Wow, and that was your first in.
And a story, interesting story about Worcester. So when I got in Worcester, it was wonderful for me because it allowed me to settle down the culture, knowing the process. Allowed to save the money because they did give me a room, and I can eat as much as I want to eat in the house. So I never went out, saved my money, send money to my parents, and pay for my tickets, which I borrowed it. But I also found out that I was not learning. This was they using it as a slave. It's like now you have PA and nurse practitioner. That's what we're doing there. I found out that all the residents were foreigners from Iran, Iraq, India, China, Taiwan, a lot from Taiwan. And then I started looking at, I was smart, I guess, to see what happened to this guy. Well, he didn't pass the board, he flunked out, this and that, and went back. They're gone. Where are they gone? Nobody knows. So after 6 months, they offered me a job to stay 4 years of training and finish the training. I said, no, this is not, I'm going to do it. I said, I went to a chief of surgery. I said, sir, I came 10,000 miles. I was young, but I must have a lot of nerve to go and tell him.
So let me get this straight. Basically, they were abusing the residents because you come from another country.
Yeah, they didn't have the manpower, and they didn't have nurse practice in those days. There was no PAs. So they needed people to do skirt works, and they couldn't get American residents or anything. So they have foreigner residents. They pay you plane fare, $500. You come in there, give you room and board, like a slave. But you were not, the bottom line, I came for training. I realized I wasn't going to get training. So I asked him, I'd like to go to University Hospital. So he looked it up and down. He said, you have done a good job. We're giving you a 4-year job. You were able to finish your training, able to take your board. But I said, sir, I am not learning anything. I'd like to go to the University Hospital. Then he got upset. He said, University Hospital is for the Americans, not for the foreigners.
So you in medicine, there was segregation.
Yeah, so he said, this is for the American graduate, and this is not for you. I said, well, if it's not for me, I'm not going to stay. So I almost went to pathology training because I wasn't going to do it because that was the end. Because you come with the visa at that time, with J1 visa, that you have to renew your visa every year. And it had to be a sponsor. So you have to have a job. It's like nowadays, right? You don't have visa. It's the same story.
That's true.
So I said, I'll go to pathology till I found out last minute, because of good or bad, Vietnam War was very active. A lot of residents got drafted, and suddenly Columbia had several residents got drafted, and there was a vacancy. And I found a month of May, and I called them. They were very anxious to have somebody. I went there, and I tell you, it was a pyramidal. There were 12 residents. There were 4 second year. I knew I would be thrown out. But luckily, I worked hard. They liked me, and I stayed there. I finished my training.
Oh, so you couldn't have predicted that.
I could not have predicted that. And then...
So what were you going to do if that didn't pan out? Would you have gone back
I would
to
have
India?
gone to pathology or gone left here. I would not. But I would not have been surgeon or anything. That would have been finished. And how I became a heart surgeon, then I was, while in Columbia University, I always wanted an orthopedic surgeon. So every time I rotate and try to do things, I couldn't do it. Plus, my hand was not strong. I was 125 pounds, dealing at 250 pounds. It doesn't work. You can't lift them. So I was very frustrated. One day, by accident, I walked into the operating room, and I see somebody was doing a heart surgery named Dr. Mom. I said, could I watch the operation? I had free time. And he let me do it, and I saw a little baby, 3-year-old, come in, cute girl, and very emotionally involved. They brought in the operating room, and I saw the surgery, the team. It's like an orchestra, the people involved. And suddenly he opened the chest. I saw the heart popped out, and gracefully he put his hand there, and us handed him an instrument, supported, heart stopped, and he closed the hole. And a few hours later, I went down to see the baby, and the baby was sucking a popsicle. I was so impressed. That's the day I said I will become a heart surgeon.
Wow.
But again, it was very difficult, John, to get training for heart surgery because there were only 50 positions. and there were 50, 100, 500 applicants. So I couldn't get a job for residency, and if you don't train, you don't get the job. But again, I was failed everywhere in my life. I've always got the bottom, and then I come up. I
Seems to be a
always
trend.
That's my trend. Trouble always, and always in the bottom. So,
So-
I found. Go ahead.
So yeah, so then afterwards, when you saw the beating heart and you said I wanted to be a heart surgeon, is that when you made the move to Rhode Island?
So I decided to become a training program. So I applied many places, everywhere it turned out, except in California. They had accepted me a job, and the last minute, I was very excited about it. And the last minute, the chief calls me, my chief, that we have an American graduate, so we're not going to hire him. So I had no job again. And fortunately, Rhode Island Hospital at that point, Brown, just was thinking about starting a residency program and was late already to get any match, anything. So it was in May. And they said, we'll get somebody to get going and then we'll worry about next year. And so some of my surgeons were trained in New York, Columbia, they knew each other. They called, and that's why I came end up a fluke, by luck,
Wow.
at Rhode Island Hospital. I was turned down at Rhode Island Hospital in 1968 when I was looking for surgery residency. They turned me down.
No kidding.
Yes.
Well, we know how the story turned out. So
Yeah, so the 68, when I was in Worcester, when I went to Columbia, I did come to first time in Rhode Island 68. I liked it because I saw the Goldstone Bank, the big dome gold. I said, gold always impressed me, and the state capitol. They said, no luck for you here. No chance.
no kidding.
No chance. So that's where I finished my training here, and then I went to, one other thing happened in my life. As I said, I always had two ladies. In my early age, my mom, and I met my wife when I was a resident in Columbia. She was a partner, she was a strong supporter, she was my cheerleader, and she pulled me out of the darkest day, for my depressions or any of those things. She kept me focused to get. And
I've met
I
her.
wa-
She's wonderful. So
and
she's
I couldn't be luckier then. So
Yeah.
you need somebody, a mentor or some, and I was fortunate to have two mentors, my mom in early age and my wife.
wow. And how when you first met your wife, I mean, what was that experience? Because I've met her, and she's she's a wonderful, supportive person. And she's been supportive this entire time. Find her.
First of all, she's a nurse. She
What
just
advice?
graduated from the nursing school, and I was there. First, my encounter was a cancer patient with the breast, and unfortunately, she had breast cancer later in her life. But anyway, and I didn't know what to do. This lady had ulcerative breast cancer and a pain, a 50-year-old. She said, well, you can't help him, but you can make him comfortable, give him. So I loved the way she handled the compassionate, the love and affection she showed with the nursing. And we became friendly at first. She showed me, I was busy, she taught me how to eat the hamburger and a hot dog, put on some weight.
We all need a tutorial
Yeah,
sometimes.
sometime. And we became friends and we got married. She's Jewish, she's from New York. And even intermarriage was rare those days in the 60s. And a lot of people have objections and didn't like it. But my parents in India and her parents had no problem. We never had a problem. So even
Yeah.
we grew up.
Because the Indian culture and the Jewish culture, I know what that's like. Being Chinese, it's just
So-
you got to
so-
marry within.
That's right. We had to marry within.
Yeah.
So we didn't marry, but parents were very accepting. So here I was dealing in 60s and 70s residency, difficult, very different time. Remember, Martin Luther King was assassinated, Robert Kennedy, fight in Vietnam was maximum, riots all over the places. And here I was dealing with two cultures, the Asian cultures versus the European culture, your customs, your food, inheritance, everything was different, and then on the top you're dealing with the disappointment, discouragement, discrimination, racism, name everything. But
Do you think that that's changed?
it changed, it's gotten better, but there always will be there as the human society. There will be, always will be there. I think as the next generation, as we go on, educated, people were educated then, but there was, what should I say, stupid, or whatever. They didn't have the concept. We are human, But anyway, despite all of these things, I was focused. We kind of ignored it. We want to do what we want to do. And the story here is, John, despite all these problems, the obstacles I had, disability I had, paralyzed hand, dyslexia. First year of my practice, I lost vision in my right eye, central vision.
Wow.
And being Asian, being a colored person, being in a different culture. If you work hard, if you're dedicated, you work with the grit, and you have a mentor, this is what you want. Despite all these obstacles, you will succeed.
So it's the hunger, it's that focus.
You can overcome
resilience.
all these obstacles. You have to be resilient. You have to be one. Most of the time. Sometimes by luck, and I was fortunate, I was healthy. And I said, I was fortunate to have two lovely ladies in my life. I always say, I had two mothers. India gave me a birth, and installed me this value. America, Rhode Island gave me the opportunity, and I'm indebted to both.
Wow, and that's a very powerful story. So that's what you highlight in your book.
The book is also, we talk about how do you deal with the people. Patient. I think the patient is the bravest person. He puts his hand to my hand. He puts his heart to my heart. He puts his heart to my hand. And it's my solemn responsibility to protect that. And we do. Most of the time we're able to save, as you know, sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't work for many reasons, for some reason. It's not the lack of trying, but and again, when we do that, every life matters, regardless of age, sex, religion.
Because in the book you talk about how the patients have touched you as much as
That's right,
you
I do
touched
talk
them.
about it. Every life matters, and we need to protect every life. What do you do? I talk about in the book. How do you control your emotion? I had one incident which a 5-year-old child, Sean, I know him very well. I knew him very well. As a baby operator, he had a 3-chamber heart, a lot of problems. Beautiful kid. I did palliative operation. He frequent comes in the hospital, took care of him for a while. And eventually, when he was 5-year-old, he was running around the hospital all the time. Always followed me. He said, Dr. Singh, why don't you help this kid? Why don't you help me like that? And he always asked. He was very smart, very. And he was failing. I know he needed an operation. He needed to have something done. And we didn't have the facility. I was very attached to him. Before he left, he, with help his mom was drawing, he made a coloring book to how the experience in the hospital, IV, the nurses, the respirator, the bed, monitors and everything else. And he handed it to me. The title of the book was, Please Make My Heart Better.
Wow.
And so he handed me, and I made him, and I wished him, and he went, and 2 days later I got a phone call from the surgeon. We did everything. Son died. I was devastated. I was sitting in the office. I didn't know what to do. I held his book, clenched it in my hand, started crying. I couldn't stop it. After a while, I controlled my emotion. As a great baseball player had said, Edgar Martinez, control your emotion, otherwise emotion will control you. In surgery, we try to control, but this was the first time I couldn't control my emotion.
Was that the first time that somebody that you had such a strong relationship
Yes,
with passed
and
away?
especially the kid. And I wonder, bleakly, I ponder the randomization of the life in the universe, how prematurely the kid can die. And I was bothering me. And the emotion was so strong, and we had 2 kids who was at that time.
So you had 2 kids?
Yeah, 5 and 3. And the emotion was so strong, and I went one day to my wife, and I was still devastated. I said, who to say our 3rd child will not have this problem? Who to say the next child will not have it? And I do not want ever to see another child suffer through like Son. And after, even that was not rational, but the emotion took over. We decided not to have any more children.
No kidding. Wow.
Yes.
Were you planning on having a 3rd
Yeah,
one?
we
or-
were planning, but we decided not to have.
Wow, because of that experience.
The experience.
And then also, from this perspective, you're also looking at it from a big picture, right? In terms of where, also, there's the human side of healthcare, which is what you described, that emotional attachment, because you're there to provide a service, but you're providing so much more. Do you feel like that's changed in healthcare throughout the few decades that you've been practicing, or do you think that it's still there and live and strong?
I think the technology, there's some good things and a bad thing. The interpersonal relationship is slowly going away. The relationship between the doctors to doctors slowly going. It's all computerized and telephone calls, not interpersonal. Same thing when you go see a patient in the office, or when I'm going to see my doctor. The most of the time, 20 minutes, the doctor spends on the computer looking at the data rather than talking to you what's wrong with you. So you really don't get to know the patient very well in terms of emotional aspect, social aspect, and you becoming a very much devoted to technology. So that aspect is not as good, but I think eventually will come in the middle of the ground. People
You
will
feel like this is the pendulum that's going to swing back?
swinging back. I think people will start seeing it, and will happen. Change will happen.
Now, how would you design an ideal health system? Because that's something that's happening, a big debate that's happening now, where healthcare is becoming more and more expensive. It's becoming less and less personal, and people feel like nobody's happy. The providers are not happy, the patients are not happy, the employers are not happy.
Government not happy.
Yeah, government's never happy. But like how would you design an ideal system, having seen it from all different aspects?
John, if I knew the answer, there are more brilliant people than me in the country, and they haven't been able to find the answer. But let me tell you my personal experience. I grew up in three parts of the world. I grew up in India as a medical student. I saw the healthcare. There's a national healthcare. I was in London. I saw the healthcare, nationalized healthcare, and I'm in the United States where I practiced 41 years here. I must say that the United States has the best healthcare in the world. No question about it, and I've seen it. Only 15% of the patients who lack the healthcare and insurance, so we need to do tweaking. How do we do that? Whether the government subsidized or private or whatever it is. I've seen the people in London and nationally, they get care, but the waiting list for a heart operation could be 6 months. And think about it, if you have a cancer and you said, come on in 2 months or 3 months. Think about emotion. Every day is taking on, plus the cancer growing. You have surgery by time, unless you're rich, influential, you get it. So I think I like to see the healthcare which is easy, accessible to everyone, and a good care, but who is going to bear the cost? That's the big problem. And who's going to be... I also like to see transparency. The hospitals, see how much a CAT scan is going to cost at this hospital versus over that hospital. What is it really? What is the difference? When you go shopping, clothes shopping, you look shop around, right? You see what the shoes are, which shoes are better here or cheaper there.
Yeah, you go look for the sale.
It's the sale or whatever.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with the healthcare? Competition is good. I think we should, and I think one of the things that happened is the hospital has gone bigger because consolidations and demanding, pushing the insurance company. Competition is healthy. We compete, and that's why we succeed.
So your take is that even though we have all these problems in our current healthcare system, it's still one of the best systems out there. From access, you can get what you need. Of course, there's going to be holes in coverage that we're going to need to fill, but it's more so of a problem that we're going to have to face on a micro level versus there needs to be a big overhaul.
Well, I think the big problem is, John, is that I work now around free clinics, and the free clinics are run by people who are very experienced, retired surgeons, cardiologists, internists, and I see the nurses, and they're wonderful. And I see the people who come had absolutely no insurance. They get very fine, good care, see the doctors. And even they don't have it, if we order any test or anything, they get it done free at the hospitals. Or the medications are filled by the CVS or Walgreens, woman, infant, take care of their own problem. So they get care. If you have no insurance or any insurance, if you have an emergency, the hospital cannot deny you. They have to provide you by law a care.
Right.
That's the law. So that's not. So where is the problem? The problem is the low middle class. People who are earning 30 to 50 or 60,000. They have 2 kids. They have a house. They don't have health care. they do not belong free clinic. They can't go to private doctors because of no insurance. Those are the people who really needs to be covered. I think Obamacare had a good idea, but somehow it did good thing. One is a pre-existing condition, have the kids up to the cover 26 years of age, have everybody insured, but the cost is overwhelming. It just hasn't worked out. So we need to have figured out with the economists and all
I think
the
transparency is a big part of it.
and the politicians and the greed. The 25% of the hospital cost goes to administration. Do we need that much? If the drug needs to be that expensive. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So those are 25% of your cost of the whole thing goes to the administration. So that's
taking
it.
the friction out of the
Yeah,
system.
that's about it. So I think we need to. And I think American people are brilliant. They will come up with the answer. They will come.
It's amazing to see that the dream is still alive and well in you after all these years.
The dream,
Yeah.
you always have a dream.
Yeah.
If you don't have a dream, you die.
That's a great point to end on. So where can people find this book?
Well, this book you
Should
can.
we
I'm
turn this
doing.
around?
This
Oh, George
book,
W.
yeah, this book is coming out on April 12th. I'm doing a book signing at the Barrington Bookstore in Garden City, 5 to 7. You see this hand? It has touched 20,000 when it was injured before. And you can shake this hand. You can also get this book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere else. And
Perfect. So, Dr.
John,
Singh, thank you so
no
much.
problem. Thank you very much.
Aaron, thank you so much for
I
coming.
appreciate it, having an interview, and good luck to you. You're doing a great job. Keep doing it. We need you.
Well, thank you so much. And
Here we go.
definitely pick up the book, and we'll leave information to get in touch with Dr. Singh on social media, as well as visiting him during his book signings. I highly recommend it.
I'll have a card for you. I forgot to give
Oh,
you.
perfect. Thank you so much.
And there's something on the back. And Ben for you too. And a couple of for here.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Dr. Singh, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.